pretty proud of the group in here to bounce back after a couple games, and obviously there's no panic in here. We just got to keep rolling now.
Yes, a challenge met by the Edmonton Oilers. A good old-fashioned shootout-style victory. The Oilers come out on top over the Carolina Hurricanes. Welcome to Got Your Back YEG. Today on the show, Jason Strudwick and I will dig into that important Oiler win, and we will also hear from the captain, Connor McDavid, who had himself a night along with Nugent Hopkins. Terry Ryan is going to check in a little bit later on. We'll take a look at what was quite the night for Nick Robertson, facing off against his brother, back from the American Hockey League, and taking center stage. That in our takeaways segment. And we want to remind you that Got Your Back YEG is brought to you by our good friends at Mr. Dirk, the iconic men's clothing store in Edmonton, founded in 1939. If you've never been to the store, you got to go check it out. It's just off White Avenue and 102nd Street. They've got a beautiful new showroom. Mr. Dirk has everything you need for every aspect of your wardrobe. They got a huge lineup of all sorts of casual clothes, jeans, pants, shirts, sweaters, shoes, and on the more formal side, they got a great selection of brand name suits, sport coats, and ties. They can do customs for you. They've got an in-house tailor. Mr. Dirk really is a one-stop shop for all your clothing needs. As we say, a fine morning, top of the morning, to Chris Sabunia and Jason Strudwick. Struds, you were looking good, at least from the waist up, in some Mr. Dirk clothing last night on the old broadcast. Zuby, you'll be able to roll in the picture of Struds. Did you see him last night? How dapper and sharp he looked?
I did see him. I was on the couch there. I had my mom's here visiting and my wife, and it was like we were watching Models Inc.
Okay, that's going straight to his head.
You're probably correct. A soft 9. I looked yesterday, but I look great. I had that soft jacket. I love that jacket. The way it just hugged my body. I was getting compliments all over the place. The problem that my upper body looked great, but the bottom was squeezing the life out of my every part of my body.
You need to explain what happened here, bud, because I heard you talking about it a bit on Gregor's show. And Zuby, we got a picture of this mess too. Although I should put a parental warning on this picture because it's really something. Struds, how did you end up in pants that were clearly like 6 sizes too small?
You know, I have my wife organized my closet, right? So it was kind of dark. One of my kids was having a nap home sick from school yesterday. So I just kind of go and he was sleeping in our bed. So I creep into our bedroom. I don't want to turn the lights on. So I grab off the rack like pants, and I just assumed that they were like my normal pants that I wear like when I do these types of things, and I don't know where they came from. Honestly, even at my fittest, I don't think this would have made it over. Like, to give you an idea, you know, when a dress pants, there's like the first clip and then the second clip. I couldn't get the far clip to meet the first clip. They were screaming. And so I was like, oh my God, like I put on this much weight. So when I got home, I tried on my other pants. They still fit. So I don't think I've ever worn these until last night, but it was so tight.
And just so we understand, you took them with you when you went out and then put them on elsewhere at where you do the show.
Yeah, I don't like wearing dress. I'm not like you like to walk around in a suit like George Hamilton. That's not my style. That's not what I do. When I go, usually if I go to Tommy's house to do the show with Gregor, I will, at the end of the show, I'll just slip into my dress clothes and then go. And so I put them on in his bathroom. Like, I thought at first I maybe grabbed Tom's pants. That's how small they were. They were exceedingly tight. Like, there's Henrik Lundqvist tight, and then there are these. It literally, I had to cut them off last night. I literally had to come off. Like, I get the jaws of life to get my goods out of these things.
Yeah, they were tight, but you were looking good from the waist up, I have to say. So I sent the picture of you on the set into our little Got Your Back group chat here.
Sure.
And our poet friend Terry Ryan, who's going to join us a little bit later, I'm not sure what he was up to. Apparently he was bored and had some time to kill. But so Zuby, put the picture up, and here's what TR texts into our group text. The picture is the best Struds could look, given that his fingers are funny looking but non-existent here, and his worst attribute is hairline, which is all but lost from the photo entirely. You gotta admit he has a Clark Kent type of jawline, and he's at an age whereby his wrinkles work to his advantage around and are rather symmetrical around said jawline. His smile is barely a smile, it's more a smirk of a middle-aged man proud of his past, content with his present and excited for the future ahead, albeit now on the back nine of a simply yet layered life. The firm grip on his wee microphone accentuates his confidence, but his eyes hint at some sort of secrecy buried deep within his frontal lobe, which lies under an exposed skull. Like the Mona Lisa, this picture will be studied for years. The human element, confident and lively, yet deteriorating rather rapidly, every day inching closer to what realization of what goes up must come down. For every yin there is a yang. We are born and we die. I think I will call it divine demise. Like, this is in our group chat. Like, he's not even publishing that. That takes a guy 5 to 7 minutes.
I was going to say, I feel like that came through about like a minute after the photo was posted. It's like TR's just like stream of consciousness. Boom, it was there.
Struds, what do you even have?
Well, to be honest, I didn't see it till this morning. I was pretty busy after, and I didn't get a chance to respond to a lot of texts. And I read it this morning. I was like, on a lot of levels, he's right.
No, this thing is riddled with truths. It is riddled with truths. And I feel like in some ways it must cut you to the core, but feel enlightening at the same time.
Well, I've read one time that the eyes are the windows into the soul. And I think TR took a hard look into this soul. The darkness. No, just kidding. No, it was, I couldn't believe it. He put that together.
Oh my God. It's like that's in our group chat. That's not on his podcast. That's not on our. That's just what he texts to us randomly out of the blue. I wish I could have tried to do it with his accent. Maybe we should get him to read it later so we can hear it how he meant it to be.
Sure.
Can you sit through that again, Struddy?
Oh, I can't wait to hear what he has to say to me live because he's going to be criticizing me. But you know what? I think he'd appreciate those tight pants. But anyway, I still can't. I cannot. I honestly, they might have been I think my wife might have put him somewhere else. Maybe she's having an affair and some guy left his pants in there. Like, honestly,
with some
I don't think
5'11" guy.
Yeah. I mean, they're long enough. That's what makes them think I did buy them with the intention of wearing them. But I honestly, at my fittest, my very fittest, I don't think I could have fit into those bad boys.
That was highly entertaining. Okay, Zuby, we'll check back in with you in a bit when we bring TR back on, but we should probably talk about what was a pretty critical Oiler game last night. So thank you, Mr. Dirk, for having Struddy looking so darn good and comfortable on that broadcast last night. Time now for the breakdown, brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. With locations in Calgary and Edmonton, DLR Vinyl Products provides some of the nicest vinyl fencing and decking that you will find anywhere. And not only does it look great, but it lasts long term. You don't have to stain, you don't have to sand, you don't have to paint. It's really high quality, great looking fence and decking material you can put into your backyard. You can enjoy it for years and years. Put your feet up, relax, and enjoy it. Maintenance-free vinyl. Locations in Calgary and in Edmonton. My brother Rick runs the branch here in Edmonton. Give him a call. Tell him Got Your Back sent you. My brother Rob runs the branch out in Calgary. Same thing. Give him a call. Worst case scenario, if you don't buy any fencing or decking from them, they'll have a good chirp about me. And then you can email or text into the show and take a good solid shot at me, courtesy my brothers. It's DLR Vinyl Products, locations in Calgary and in Edmonton. So a 6-4 win, a shootout style win. Man, that was an entertaining game, Struddy. Back and forth and goals and mistakes and stuff happening all over the place. It's probably one of those ones that makes coaches cringe a little bit behind the bench. But the entertainment value for fans and frankly the media watching, that was a high octane game, bud.
Yeah, the fans would have loved it. The coaches, Jay used the word sloppy after. I think Connor McDavid used the word sloppy as well. And that's not a shot at anyone. That's just the reality of hockey this early in the year. Their systems aren't quite locked down. Guys aren't quite dialed into the details, of puck management, understanding where the threats are coming from. Even the goalies to a certain point, although I'm not going to pin the loss or the win, on the goaltenders here. But really good game. Like the Oilers needed a win like this against a team that I think should probably be in the finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, come spring. So very strong performance by the big guns of the Oilers, and they needed those guys to show up.
My favorite performance of the night was Svechnikov's. I mean, that snapshot is unbelievable. The how quick he can get that thing off, how accurate he is. I mean, he beat Campbell from, a long, long ways out. And Campbell should have had that one. But I thought he just put on an absolute goal scoring clinic. That was really fun to watch. But that's from a Carolina standpoint. But listen, in recent days, we've kind of called out a little bit the play of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, in particular at even strength, feeling like he needed to generate a little bit more. And I don't think Nugent-Hopkins hears or cares about any of what anybody else has to say. He strikes me as one of those guys that just turns it all off and ignores it. But he played the game like a guy that maybe knew he needed to be better.
I'm going to get pretty dramatic here, but I honestly think that's one of the best games I've ever seen him play.
Really?
Yeah. What I really liked about it, and he had 4 points, but he earned all of those points. And I'm going to specifically go to the power play goal that Draisaitl scores. The puck is dumped in, and Nugent-Hopkins goes off and fights off 2 Carolina Hurricanes players, and he wins the puck battle over to Connor McDavid. And yeah, Connor makes a nice pass to Leon, but without that one puck battle by Nuge, I think it makes it hard. And what I liked about that battle, he was over the puck. And, you used to hear Todd McClellan. I think Jay says it as well. Like, you have your nose over the puck. That means your weight is in the right place. You're down on it. You're strong. And he fought it and won that puck battle. So I think that when Nuge, with his all the different things he does for this team, but when he's winning puck battles like that, that adds another kind of layer to the offense. And for guys like who was lineman, Leon and Hyman last night, those are his linemen. Yeah, I mean, they've changed a bit, so I think everyone can give me a bit of a break. But those 2 guys, with Hyman doing the same on the other side, and then Leon, who's pretty strong on the puck himself, that makes a pretty formidable line.
Zach Hyman, shift to shift, has been the Oilers' most consistent forward this year. Agree or disagree? Shift to shift from the start.
100%, but that's what he's paid for. That's his job, right? That's if he's not working, he's not hard every night. He's skilled, but he's not that skilled where he can float around a game.
Yeah, I heard, I want to give credit because I thought it was a great thought. I think it might have been Rob Brown made this point about Zach Hyman. He said, if you're a parent, if you're a hockey parent out there, he is the person you can point to with your kids and say, be like him. Because you can't point to Connor McDavid and say that. You can't point to Leon Draisaitl and say that. He is the example for every kid out there about the qualities that you need to have in your game, and he's the guy parents can point to and say, yup, that. Fair?
Well, let's look at the first goal last night. I think that was from pretty far away for him. That was about 2 feet outside the blue paint where he tipped that puck. So that's a deep one. But that whole goal starts with Tyson Barrie. Tyson Barrie does a great job keeping that puck in, and then moments later he gets it back and he shoots it. But what I love about what Hyman does is he flashes in front of Anderson. And for a second, Anderson just he's trying to find the puck, and then the shot's coming. Pinpoint shot by Barrie just outside of the big guy, and Hyman tips it in. It's skill play, but to me, that's more effort, and you can work on that. That's not Connor McDavid beating 5 Rangers last year.
We're going to get to the Weiss Johnson soundbox here because you made a great point, and McDavid echoed that point, that post game. So we'll remind you, it's a great time of year to look into a furnace for the garage. Winter's coming, and if you want to let the family get into a nice toasty warm car, I'm actually getting a quote from them, looking at putting a furnace into the garage. But give them a shout, 463-3096. And as part of their 45th anniversary for the next 3 months, they're looking to give away and install a new furnace or hot water tank into a community organization or a charity that is in need. So if you know of a community organization or a charity that's in need, send them an email, info@weiss-johnson.com. That's info@weiss-johnson.com. If you know a community organization or a charity that needs a hot water tank or a furnace, send them an email, let them know they're going to pick one, and it's a free hot water tank or furnace and a free installation. Love this initiative from the crew over at Weiss Johnson. Okay, so after the game, Connor McDavid talked about second effort plays, and I think about him first and foremost when it comes to second effort plays. There was a back check of his in that game last night, Struds, where there was a turnover. He turned and looked. He wasn't the closest guy. He decided in his first 3 strides, he was getting all the way back. And he kept skating and he kept legs pumping like you would in a mean all playoff game. And he was the guy in position to break up what would have been almost assuredly a goal for the Carolina Hurricanes. So McDavid, a great back check. The second effort plays you just mentioned as we go to the Weiss Johnson soundbox. Here's McDavid on the details.
I thought there was just a little more second and third effort out of our group. Not so much, I guess, kind of one and done or kind of swinging away. I thought we did a good job of getting involved in battles. It's going to be a long night if you don't battle against a team like that. So I thought we did a better job. I think there's still a little bit of room to go, and we'll continue building it.
There was a quality in their game last night that I had not seen yet this year, and it lived in that McDavid back check. It lived in some of the hits that they were willing to take. Am I overstating it, Struds, or did you see it too?
No, I agree. But when you play a team like Carolina, if you're not giving that type of effort, they'll expose you. And quite honestly, they'll embarrass you, because that's what Rod the Bod Brindamore, that's how he played his career. That's how he wants his team to play.
Yeah.
And I remember the specific play we're talking about. It was a power play, actually, for the Oilers.
Yep.
And McDavid just put his head down and absolutely hit the gear that he can. And all he did was just disrupt that play a little bit. And the guys on the bench see that. When your captain, the best player in the world, is skating back that hard. And if you watch the play, there's a couple of people he passed. He passed a couple other Oilers players. So I think that those guys should be on notice, because, yes, I get it. I get that he's faster than you, but there's pretending to skate that fast, and then there's skating back fast like McDavid did. I love that moment. And that is it's a sign where he a couple of years ago, maybe he's not coming quite back as fast. He gets it. And that was seen by everyone on that bench.
I feel like with back checking, players do it because they know they have to. And if the rush, it's a turnover, it goes the other way. A lot of guys will put their head down and skate hard, but there's this kind of sense like once you pass your own blue line, you're like, oh, I tried really hard here. And you stand up and your feet stop moving. And now you're looking around and you see the chance happen and you hope it doesn't go in. And you're like, okay, I'm back the other way. Now here we go. There's that hold up at the blue line. McDavid powered head down through the blue line, like he was willing to just skate right through the end of the boards and out the back of the rink. That's how, but I don't want to overstate it. That's how hard he back checked.
It was a great back check, but everyone saw that. That's the captain. That's your job. You have to set the tone and let other people know that's now the standard, right? That's the standard that we now play at. And the second effort, I thought it really showed through his effort. Nugent Hopkins, honestly, he was on it so hard last night. And I love how Jay Woodcroft empowered the I don't know if you want to call it the third line, the Fogle, Puljujarvi, and McLeod line, starting the second and third period. I absolutely love that, because he's saying, guys, I like what you're doing, and I'm trusting you here. Don't screw me. And they put him out, and I thought they responded. Specifically, I think it was, I have to check my eyes. I think it was the start of the second period. They had a great first shift.
They did. Yeah, no, you're bang on.
Group. And I can't tell you, as a guy who played in the bottom half of the lineup, when a coach puts you out there, you want first to make him say, okay, I made the right decision, but also you want to set the table for the whole period. And I love that play that decision by Jay Woodcroft and the response by that line.
So is it the same in the NHL? I think back to when I played junior, and I know exactly the feeling you're talking about. It didn't happen very often where I would have ever been told, hey, you're starting the period, but it did happen a couple of times. And I think the interesting part for me is I think back on that, and you tell me if it's the same thing. They don't tell you when you're already out on the ice skating around. What it is you're in the room, you're all huddled there together. You're in the middle of this battle and you're all there together. Coach comes in, says his thing, and then he points at you and he goes, Clowder, your line's going. And he says it in front of everybody. Everybody hears it. It's complimentary. It makes you feel good. Then you're all fired up. You get ready to go out there. Everybody walks out there together, and you're the guys that get to go out and be on the ice. And it's like a 2-minute window where you've been entrusted with this thing, and it's super meaningful. Is it the same in the show? Is that the way it would have worked for those guys last night? And for a lot of players, it wouldn't be a big deal, but I would submit to you, for Warren Fogle, Jesse Puljujarvi, and Ryan McLeod, that would be a meaningful 2 minutes after being told you're going.
It's huge. Well, a lot of guys would be like, that's five of the best boys, right? You're trying to get everyone jacked up. So, it is a moment. It's great pride. You take pride in it. I know when I would start a period, I would start a lot of games, but start a period, you were so proud to be out there because you're the one that got to set the table for that period. And you didn't want to let the team down. And for three guys together who I think are searching for not an identity, but searching for some chemistry and like a place on that line. I think that's a very strong statement that Jay made, and they did not disappoint. I think that's the important point to make. Coaches aren't going to put you if they don't feel you're going to get the job done or can start properly, they're not going to put you out there. They had them. They responded to the challenge or the opportunity, and I love that. Those three guys, excellent. I thought, and quite frankly, I thought they had a good game.
This is what we envisioned the third line would be most of the summer when we talked about this team and what it might look like. It wasn't Nugent Hopkins as a third line center, which primarily we've seen this year. It was Ryan McLeod between Warren Foegele and Jesse Puljujärvi if they were both still here. And I thought that line was really useful and really good last night. Ryan McLeod, of course, had the really nice goal off the feed from Nugent Hopkins. The one time, sorry, I don't mean to inundate you with stories about my tiny little cup of coffee in the Western League, but there was one time where I actually got to be on the starting lineup, like on the blue line during the song kind of thing. And I remember I was so excited, Struds. We're skating around. We were in Regina. And I was skating around, and I was so excited. And I'm like, I'm going to hear my name when they announce the starting lineup. And they're like, on left wing, number 26, Donnie Kinney. And at center, number 36, Sean McNeil. At right wing, number 18, Ryan Ring Sing.
Come on.
yeah. Some of the guys still call me Ring Sing. Could not have been butchered worse. My shoulders slumped. I was like, this turned into
energy.
A trip. Yeah, bring the energy. And nobody said 5 of the best. Nobody said, I never heard that. Nobody said that, Struddy. No. Let's talk about Jack Campbell. I mean, we didn't like the Svechnikov goal. Obviously, that's way too far out to get beat with. I mean, sometimes we say you got to tip your hat to a guy. It was a nice shot. That's a snapshot from way out. You definitely need to make that save. But what happened after that, I thought defined Campbell's night. The way he played.
Oh yeah. No, I thought.
I mean.
I wasn't sure if you're done your thought there, or maybe you had a stroke. No, I think what happened was 100%. I think Campbell's been solid for the Edmonton Oilers. I think he's been a little bit of victim of poor play in front of him and some softness in front of the Oilers net and all over the place. I didn't think they were quite. It was fair. That first goal by Svechnikov, there's no doubt he liked to have that one back. Even his reaction, he knows. But the rest of the time, I thought he really did a good job. Made some huge saves, specifically near the end of the game. I think it was on Aho on that. I'm not sure why they're making that play there when you have a minute left. Then there was another one to the side. He catches with his blocker. Made some really big save, and that's what they need from Jack Campbell. They need him to be solid, right? They need to be solid. Every goal he's going to let in some weak ones, but I thought when they needed him the most, he came up and made solid saves. And I liked his game. He gave up 4, but it's crazy. I liked his game. Svechnikov, our guy can shoot.
You like to play in particular from Evan Bouchard, who, by the way, had been averaging, I don't want to get this wrong, I think he was 16 and change, played over 20 minutes in last night's game, and there's one play you really liked.
Penalty kill, pucks into the left to Jack Campbell. There's a battle out there. Jack Campbell. Bouchard gets it, and 95% of the D-men get that. He has a couple steps he can take, and he would wire that thing and ice it. Not Evan. Evan decides he's going to skate it behind the net. Svechnikov comes, he leans into him, gets around gains the net, comes around again. Another opportunity to ice it. No, not me. I'm going to make a pass up the gut. Right to, I think it was McLeod that goes over to Nugent, back to McLeod eventually for a breakaway. But I mean, that is
composure.
Elite. Yeah, composure. I was watching that live. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, because he had not one but 2 chances to ice it down, and I'm screaming,
he was under duress.
Ice it.
Yeah,
and he makes just a great play. He turns like literally nothing into what ends up in a breakaway play. So that's all on Evan Bouchard. Yes. Great play by Nugent Hopkins, but without Evan Bouchard's poise, that doesn't happen.
Rock solid win for the Oilers. Answering the bell a little bit. Hadn't been great through 3 games. Real good team rolls through town. Rod Brindamore and company, a hard-working group with all kinds of skill. The Oilers meet the challenge, find the offense, and find a quality in their game that they had yet to capture this season in the early going. All right, that was the breakdown brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. We will check in with Terry Ryan for TR's Takeaways coming up next. You're listening to Got Your Back YEG, presented by Mr. Dirk. Checking in with Sterling Dirk inside the beautiful Mr. Dirk shop. People ask me all the time, who is the Mr. Dirk, Sterling? I know it's not you. Who's the original?
So my grandfather was a tailor, and he came over to Canada in 1940s, opened his freestanding shop in 1965. So Mr. Dirk's an ode to my grandfather. He was a tailor, and we keep that ethos of like quality service and community embedded in our store every day. So if you come in, you walk in, you're gonna get a friendly face, a smile, and we're gonna get you suited up, head to toe, get you some jeans, shoes, whatever you need. We got you covered.
1939 is on the emblem, and it means something. Truly local, MrDirk.com is where you can see all of their merchandise, or visit them in store right off White Avenue and 102nd Street. Hey, Struddy, question for you. Have you ever tried putting in your own fence?
I sure have. Between digging the posts, mixing up cement and digging the holes, it's absolute killer.
It's brutal on the back. Well, listen, what if I told you you could put in a fence without having to dig a hole or mix any concrete?
I'd be much more likely to come over and help you out.
Yeah, well, you're not the first guy I would call, but thank you for that. Listen, my brother's company, DLR Vinyl Products, they've come up with a system where you can actually put high-quality vinyl fence in the ground without having to dig a hole, without having to mix any concrete. They can teach do-it-yourselfers how to do it, and they can also work with contractors who might be looking to start installing vinyl. It's super high-quality product. The great thing about it is that it has fantastic longevity. You put it in, you don't have to worry about staining or sanding or anything like that. I've been lucky enough, Struddy. They've put in multiple fences in my different yards, and they've built me 3 decks. I have totally abused the fact that my family is in the fencing and decking business, but it's great product. Give Rob a call in Calgary or Rick a call here in Edmonton. This is a company my dad started. It's a family business. I'm super proud of it. That's DLR Vinyl Products in Edmonton and Calgary. All right, time now for TR's Takeaways, brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC, just off Baseline Road on the way into Sherwood Park, the #1 GMC dealership in all of Canada for 5 years running. Have you seen the all-new redesigned Sierra 1500? They've got a wide variety of trim levels. I have the Elevation. It's amazing. The Denali Ultimate, generally regarded as the most advanced and luxurious in its class. It is off the charts loaded. And Sherwood Buick GMC actually has inventory. A lot of places are struggling with that right now. Not them. They can get their hands on a vehicle for you quickly. They've also got a ton of great used vehicles for you as well. It's one of the biggest inventories in the city, and they're wide open for trades. They'll even just straight up buy your car if you're selling. Visit SherwoodBuickGMC.com. That's SherwoodBuickGMC.com. As we welcome in TR from the East Coast. TR, this poetry, this absolute poetry you sent into our chat group last night about Jason Strudwick. What inspired you so much about this photograph? I mean, this was artwork that you spewed into the chat.
I think it's just a perfect photograph for Struds. It represents exactly where he is in life, and it transcends Struds himself and speaks for humanity. By the way, that was my inspirational time. I told you that every night after midnight, before 4 o'clock, that's when I start thinking that way.
I was blown away, honestly, Char. I didn't see it. Last night I got home and I was kind of running around. I didn't see it till this morning. I was literally dying laughing, and I thought it was great. I got to share it with my buddies. They're going to be blown away how good it was.
Okay, you know what that actually? So I when you first said that, Ryan, I didn't realize what you were talking about. So every once in a while, like I said to you, I write all the time.
Yeah.
So no one will ever see it, but I do write some poetry and stuff. So when I was just channeling that. I was just sitting there watching the recorded Leafs game, and just kind of daydreaming while I was typing. I reread it, and it was kind of out there.
Can you grab it on your phone? Because I read the entire thing earlier in the podcast, but my squeaky, annoying voice just doesn't do it justice. So we're not going to have you read the whole thing because it's about a 2-hour soliloquy.
Yeah.
Just back it up and pick it up from Like the Mona Lisa and just give it to us performance volume, full Terry Ryan with those dulcet tones and that beautiful accent.
Okay, here we go. Well, I said right before it, I said that this is the best Struds could have looked, okay? Because his fingers are funny looking but non-existent in the picture, and his worst attribute is his hairline, which is all but lost from the photo entirely. You got to admit he has a Clark Kent type of jawline, and he's at an age whereby his wrinkles work to his advantage around his symmetrical jawline. His smile is barely a smile. It's more the smirk of a middle-aged man, proud of his past, content with his present, and excited for the future ahead, albeit now on the back nine of a simple yet layered life. The firm grip on his wee microphone accentuates his confidence, but his eyes hint at some sort of secrecy buried deep within his frontal lobe, which lies under an exposed skull. Like the most Mona Lisa, this picture will be studied for years. The human element, confident and lively, yet deteriorating rather rapidly, every day inching closer to the realization, what goes up must come down. For every yin, there is a yang. We are born and we die. I call it divine demise. That was just subbing for what I honestly I spit that drivel every few days.
Were you sober? Like
no, I weed gummy, but more CBD than anything.
Oh, TR.
I was howling.
That's when I take them,
absolute
So
poetry.
good,
And the
TR,
funny
so
thing
good.
is I was looking at the picture while you were just doing that. And it's just really true. Like it all rings very true. That's the ridiculous thing. You're not spewing garbage like that. You're gazing into Struddy's soul with that analysis. And that man, oh man, that is
now you know why when people ask me, was the book hard to write? I'm like, it's a different process for me. I went back through like pages and boxes of things with that kind of writing. Right. So it was more for me organizing what I had already had done. And it's hard because there's a lot of those nights, right? There's 2 or 3 of those a week.
Yeah, man, oh man. Okay, listen, I want to get both your takeaways on the night that Nick Robertson had last night for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And for people that don't know the backstory with Nick Robertson, really good young prospect for the Maple Leafs, has had a cup of coffee in the league and was coming into camp this year desperate to make the team. He made the team. Oh, make no mistake, he played well enough and made the team. The salary cap situation got in the way. He got sent down at the start of the year to the American Hockey League. Devastating for him because he did everything that he was supposed to do in training camp and made the team. It wasn't until the Leafs ran into some injuries that they had the space and were actually able to call him up. And then in last night's game, not one, but 2 goals, including the overtime winner. As you're watching Nick Robertson last night, TR, what's going through your head about just the gravity of that night for that kid?
Well, I was really proud of him, first of all. He had a great camp. Everything you said, I totally agree with. I thought he could have and should have maybe made the team. And he's excited. He seems to be, a guy that's taking his fate into his own hands. I compare the two in camp, Dylan Holloway in Edmonton. And Dylan, had a great camp. I'm not saying he doesn't fit in, but he had a little bit, a couple of times he had a bit of a rough start in the first 3 games, whether it was a penalty taken, a giveaway, or a big hit. Robertson seems ready for the challenge. He seems confident. And I tell you this, a lot of the reason for that, and I'll get into it later, I'll talk about Sheldon Keefe and what he said in a little bit. But what I noticed in the game you're asking me, I noticed a lot of confidence shown by the coach. Here's a guy that's had every reason to be nervous. And I would have been really nervous in that position. I don't know that I would have gone out grab the game with as much confidence as Nick Robertson did, being a kid coming up. And, I went in the first round. It's just 2 different ways to look at it. He just seemed like he wanted to take the game by storm. He wanted the puck at all times. And, being out there in overtime, he scored because he was out there, and the coach is giving confidence, and the best players on the team are giving it to him in situations they could shoot. I don't know. I think now he should be there to stay. What they do about it, who they get rid of, I'm not sure. Maybe injuries will take care of it. But I think he's a National Hockey League player. And if you don't, even though they're a great team, they should ride the momentum right now of anything they can get because they got a few injuries. And for me, it's Nick Robertson all the way. And Samsonov played pretty well. Let's give the devil his due.
Yeah, for me, I think what I liked about it is that when you're a young player and you get sent down, especially when you feel like you should be in the NHL, guys will maybe pout or not be ready and not keep their skills sharp. I know he wasn't down there for 2 months, but when he got the call back, he was ready. His attitude was ready. He brought it and he delivered and he made a statement. And you have to make statements when you're a young player. Say, I should be up here, not maybe he should be up here. When the coaches now put together the lineup for the next game, they're finding a spot for him rather than like, we're not sure about it. So great response by a young player, and man, Toronto needs that.
You know what I loved about both of his goals? yes, they were goal scorers' goals, and you know that Nick Robertson's capable of making those shots. He got the better of Jamie Benn on both goals.
Yeah.
So the first one, there's a play on the wall. He's under pressure. He feels Jamie Benn coming at him. What does he do? Smaller guy, braces himself, takes the hit, makes a play, then he spins out, beats Benn to the slot, and then snipes. Jamie Benn is frustrated, feeling like, like he just got his lunch fed to him by this kid, right?
Yeah.
Flash forward to overtime. Jamie Benn in off the rush. Nick Robertson playing defense of all things in overtime. Benn tries to go through him. Second effort from Robertson with the stick. Steals it. Heads up ice. Gives it to Austin Matthews. Return feed. You see Benn on the back check. Too little, too late as Robertson is celebrating, arms in the air. He got the better of Jamie Benn on both of those goals, you guys. And to me, that is something.
Well, not only is it something here, but you keep hearing the language from a few players on the Leafs. Well, they got to make it if they don't make it in the top 6, they're not going to make it. Honestly, I'm sick of hearing that. I'm looking at Robertson, and I keep hearing that about him, and I look at him, and he actually does play pretty well in the corners. He just beat Jamie Benn. There's guys out there, I hate calling people out. I hate on here. But there's players like Engvall that I don't know what they do. They're skating around. I don't know what's happening out there. They're not doing much. And the Leafs need energy. They're right there. They're a team that people say they're right. They got all this potential. They're a possible cup contender, but they're missing something. And then you see a guy go out there full of piss and vinegar, so excited, got relatives in the area, skating around. He wasn't only scoring to me. He just looked into the game. A lot of those guys seem disengaged for the first few, and I know it's a long season. I got every bit of confidence in all the Leafs. And the Oilers, I think two of the teams could go a long way. It depends on what they do at that time. But it's a long season, and there's going to be ups and downs. Now, at the beginning of this season, the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are, again, a juggernaut in the NHL, seem to me to be lacking interest of all things. So I don't know. You see a guy come up and just seem excited to play. Why can't he play on the third or fourth line? I don't understand it. I mean, he's earned a spot on the first two, but all this, he's got to make it on the top 6. I think that's hogwash. I think there's lots of cases where, you know what, this guy can help us on any line because he brings energy, he brings talent, and he's excited.
We'll go back to the Weiss Johnson soundbox real quick here. And Robertson talked post-game about how it felt getting sent down after that camp he had.
To get sent down, given cap space and everything, and the situation was definitely tough to grasp. Like I said, that was tough. But now to get a night like this is just kind of makes up for it. And again, I don't want to just have a night. I want to be consistent. I want to play well and help the team.
Parents are in the stands, brother on the other team, Struddy. That's one of those nights you remember, hey?
For sure, but it's the statement, man. Like he's right. It is hard. Unfortunately, the NHL isn't fair, and that you just figure that out. But the good thing about the NHL is that if eventually you keep doing the right thing, eventually you're going to find your spot in the NHL. And he was ready for his opportunity tonight. Ready. And I've seen so many guys pout when they get sent down, they get called up, and they're not ready, and they don't capitalize on their opportunity. And he capitalized, and he'll get another opportunity, then another. And all of a sudden you look back, it's been 12 years you've played in the NHL. You're like, what the hell just happened? And I remember my first game, or not my first game, but my statement game, and he did it in a big situation where the Leafs needed a win. So give him credit. I just like his spunk. I think he did. He to me, he looks like he's a player, and the Leafs need energy. They need energetic players.
For sure. I want to get to Sheldon Keefe here. So after a loss against Arizona, a really tough loss, and at a time where the pressure was getting turned up on the team, for sure, Sheldon Keefe made a comment. He said, I've got the quote here, quote, "The difference between us and Arizona is that we have elite players. And our elite players didn't play like elite players." There was a little bit more in there, but that was the thrust of what he had to say. Fast forward a day or two, and before practice, Keefe sought out individual players to clarify what those comments meant. And he said to the media, "I used some of the wrong words to try to describe what I was trying to describe, that the difference in the game is that we weren't able to produce. By no means was I meaning anything beyond that. They didn't know what I was talking about, which is a good thing. At the same time, it's important they know where I was coming from." So the initial comments I think on one of our podcasts, we said, it feels a little early to be that strong, but not untrue what he was saying. Then he turns around and walks it back, said it was a product of the media more than anything, blowing things out of proportion. Struds, how does that whole sequence of events hit you, and does it say anything about the situation in Toronto?
To me, it looks like a soft move by the coach. Walking back comments, I think, are fair. You're not saying that your players are brutal, they're not ready. You're saying our top players did not produce like they're supposed to be versus other teams' top players. And Arizona doesn't have any right now. They will in years to come because they're tanking like crazy. But I just don't. I don't see it. I think it's a soft thing to come back off it. I think what a better play if you feel like you maybe upset the apple cart a little bit too much, you bring in your top guys and say, guys, listen, this is what I said. This was what I meant when I said it. I said it. You guys can be better. You guys can produce higher. You guys can bring more energy, can do more things for our team. But don't walk it back, because to me, it looks soft. It feels like someone got in his ear and was told that he had to come back with his tail between his legs and walk it back in the media, then apologize to his players. Weak statement 4 games into the year.
Yeah, my thing was the why. Like, why would, like, to me, if I heard that and I was a top player, I really wouldn't think anything of it. I mean, it was rather innocuous, I thought. But if he, Sheldon Keefe felt a need, or, did someone come to him upset? Did it come from higher up? To me, it was just, why would you even do that? Now, but I will say, I won't say we're making a mountain out of a molehill, because he's the one that kind of brought it into the light. But I like Sheldon Keefe, and I find the most times that I'm down on him, or I find I'm critiquing him, it's something he didn't articulate his words the right way. What I like about him, I think he knows the game. And speaking of Robertson again, I don't know if you guys were watching the game, but at the very, very beginning of the Leafs game, it panned over to the bench, and you could see him joking. You could see him tapping Robertson on the shoulder, and you could see he said something, and they both laughed. Robertson went on to play with a lot of confidence, even be out there in overtime. He was rewarded. That's what you do. That's, to me, it seems to me that guys like him, coming off Babcock before this, who I never had a problem with, but it sounds like it was a bit of a circus, and he was definitely more soldier-like when it came to the way he wanted his team to respond. So to me, I think we're making a big deal about it. Yes, he brought it on himself, but Keefe, to me, I think that the players generally like him. I think he has a good grasp on a situation that is not easy to do, be the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Product of the media machine in Toronto to some degree. And listen, we're not that much different here. I mean, I remember when Dave Tippett went after Mikko Koskinen, the team was all the way out in New York, and he had some comments about Koskinen, and we piled onto him for it. I think he deserved it. I don't think it was smart to say. But when you're in these Canadian markets, everything you say is going to be dissected, and I think you need to expect that. And if it gets away from you every once in a while, so be it. But Struddy, to be clear, you're okay with him clarifying with his players. You just didn't like the fact that he got in front of the media again and walked it back publicly. Is that sort of how you're feeling, Struds?
No. The clarity is okay, but if you're taking back the comments because you feel like it hurt someone's feelings, that's where I'm like, I've got a problem with it. All right, so it was very clear. Our elite players didn't play like elite players. He was saying their best players weren't good enough. Let's just call it what it is. That's exactly what he said. And if your best players don't want to hear that, they've got a problem. Not when I say they, I have Leafs players, Leafs management, Leafs coaches, Leafs fans. I don't care who, they've got a problem. Like, you've got to be able to take some criticism. And, now my question would be, did he say anything to them in the dressing room after? Did he say that in the dressing room before? Because I don't think it's fair to say one thing in the dressing room, then go to the media and say something different. And that's the same if I'm a player. I can't say nothing to my coach and go and blast him in the media. You have to be able to say it to people's faces. And then if you want to double down the media, that's fine. But I just think the whole thing looks very, very soft. Very soft. And 7 years, no playoff wins. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. Maybe this year I'll be proven wrong. But if you can't take that criticism, come on. You got a problem.
You're wanting
No,
me to tweet this promo of you saying that so you get invited back to Overdrive tomorrow, aren't you? On Monday.
I was saying about any team. Like I
know.
It's something that should not be an issue. Like I don't think this is an issue, but I get, they've lost to Montreal, they lost to Arizona, so everyone's, feeling the pressure there. But it should not be an issue. You know what? You're right. Sheldon's right. We need to be better against the Arizona Coyotes. End of story. Over. We move over. Now luckily they won last night and they move on. But if they lose a few more games, that clip will keep coming back up.
Last word to you, TR.
I find Keefe, if he has a weakness, it's dealing with the media. Yes, he seems fun and jovial, and he's well articulated most of the time. But last year, remember that thing he said about the handshake line? Like, I know what he was saying, but it was the wrong time to say it. And this year, he burned his snap, if you will, on the first game. So the first game he snaps, and then like 2 games later, he walks something back that really didn't seem like a big deal. And now it's hard enough. The Toronto Maple Leafs, your team, you're all under the microscope, more so than any other market. And you could make an argument, sports market in North America or the planet. So to bring it on yourself and to magnify that spotlight on your own is kind of silly. And I think that maybe he needs to think about his dealings with the media a little better. I think that's a weakness. And maybe from here, move on. What's the word? On the same page with the players. It's a symbiotic relationship all year. Don't magnify it for no reason.
But here, just quickly, he's feeling the pressure. This is the response in 4 games. They're under significant pressure there. And that manifests itself in what you say post-game.
Out to a 3-2 start. There's pressure in a number of ways too, Struddy. So there's pressure for this team to be good and for this team to have a successful year and to have playoff success. But there's also pressure with individual players to make sure players are happy and players want to be in Toronto. Mm-hmm. Players want to stay in Toronto. And you want to create a situation that is comfortable enough for them that they don't have a reason to go anywhere. And I think they're ultra sensitive about a number of players that they have and their want to stay in Toronto. I mean, Matthews with the contract is the obvious one. I think they try and be careful with Marner because he puts so much pressure on himself already. Interesting days out in Toronto. 3-2 start to the regular season. But that division, man, the Buffalo Sabres are making it interesting early. Florida's off to a good start. Montreal is punching a little bit above their weight class. So it'll be interesting in the Atlantic. That was Takeaways, brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC. Guys, thanks for doing this. TR, thank you for your poetry today. You know, I felt uplifted when I read it, and I can't wait. You got to do that again, my friend. You can do that anytime you want.
Now I will be writing soliloquies and sending them off in the wee hours of the morning. I'll pepper your weeks with poem all year.
Send it over. I love it, man.
The only thing that would make that better, next time, TR, this is what I want you to do. I want you to write it, and then I want you to voice it and send it to us because I can't do it justice with my squeaky voice.
True point.
I can't believe, guys, honestly, that was a one-off. I just figured, I didn't realize how long it was until I just reread it.
So long. There were so many poignant and heartfelt points that you made in there. It was so long, but so good.
You know what, guys? I would expect a retraction from TR and an apology saying that the only reason it was the media made a big deal out of that.
Yeah.
So I expect him to pull that back.
The media's fault.
The next couple of days.
Blame the media. Blame the media.
Okay, guys.
That's what we do. We got to talk about it. I know I heard that too. People are Twitter. I don't even want to look at it anymore. It's so poisonous.
No, stay away, especially post-game. All right, that'll wrap the podcast, folks. Thanks to Struddy, thanks to TR, Zuby, thank you so much. Pulling the levers and pushing the buttons behind the scenes. And a big thanks, as always, to our sponsors. Mr. Dirk, our title sponsor, DLR Vinyl Products, Sherwood Buick GMC, and of course, Weiss Johnson. More podcasts coming your way next week, folks. Thanks for your downloads and your subscriptions. Hey, do us a favor. Leave us a review on iTunes. A personal request from Terry Ryan. We would like a review. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever. Go drop us a review. That really helps us out. It doesn't have to be positive. We want to know what you think about us here on Got Your Back. DMs are open on the Twitter feed as well, so feel free to reach out anytime. Have yourselves a fantastic Friday and a great weekend, and we'll touch base next week. Cheers, folks.
If I said anything at the end, I thought we were off air. Was that all cool? The last 5... 20
Oh,
seconds.
you thought we were off air the whole last like 5 minutes?
My last, whatever I said at the last part, yeah, I thought I was totally off the air.
You're never off the air on Got Your Back, TR.